Hey y'all, it's David Ducker coming back at you. I'm recording this video for Fernando Cabanas, if I'm saying that right. I'm probably not, but he's a member of our YouTube RPG Brigade, and which you can check out on Facebook. It's a great forum full of discussion about how to level up your game. But Fernando was seeking some advice on how to pace his games. So I'm assuming this is as a GM, because the GM has the most control over the pacing. Players do have a lot of control as well, but the GM has the most. So my advice was follow the old 3-act structure, where you want to have a rising tension, a climax, and a denouement right at the end there. So how to do that? First off, you want to start out strong, start out with a hook. You know, if you're starting a session off, start it off either with some combat or with the dynamic role-playing scene. So you want to start off with a bang. That's the first thing. After that, as a GM, generally try to sit back, see what they do. Let them react to it. You know, if there's ever a moment where they are not engaging each other with role play, when the pace starts to slip, that's when you do something else. You intro something else. So, for example, our last session, let's say they were summoned to the Lord, the head of their house, and he tells them that their riverboat is missing and they got to go find it. It's just their assignment. So he gives them this info. It's dynamic. It's a little shocking. You know, it's going to be dangerous. You know, what do you do? And then my players are all discussing plans amongst each other. They're talking to the Lord, getting more detail as they want more detail. Right? And now hopefully they'll just push the pace and they'll just say, okay, this is our plan. We're going to go implement our plan. But if they ever did come to a moment of silence where they weren't sure what to do, or they were hesitating, or they were bored of the scenario, that's when as a GM you got to step in. So, you know, on hand, if that had happened, I could have stepped in with the Lord again. Could have stepped in with Sir Bernard was there, Knight, the captain of the ship they're taking to find the lost ship. He was there. Buck Salder, their master at arms, and I can't remember the actual captain's name, but Buck Salder was going to be their big NPC tag team partner for this session. But they were all there in case I needed as a GM to push the pace. My players are good though. They took the ball and ran with it. They're moving on out. And I got the same thing prepared. If I get in the feeling they're bored of role playing, once they get in the streets, I have some combat encounters I can throw at them to change things up. Which I won't reveal because I'm still going to use them for the next session, hopefully, very next session. And then I just advise, keep doing that as a GM. If they get bored of what they are doing, throw something else at them. If they get bored in combat, have someone parlay. If they get bored out of combat, have someone attack them. Of course, mix it up with some research scenes, some travel scenes, get them to describe things, montages. Always try something new, and try not to have too many of the same type of scene in your game. You know, I love to ask them things so they can push the pace. When they're on the river, I say, Rick, what are you doing during the voyage? And he'll describe in a montage what his character's doing for the 24-hour trip down the river. And then I'll go, okay, same thing for you. Charles, what are you doing on the river? What's your character doing? Same thing for you, Mike. What's your character doing on the river? And they can montage. If I want to, I can throw some riverboat encounters at them, whether that be pirates or giant eagles or a Tarrasque. I mean a classical fantasy Tarrasque, not the, D&D Tarrasque. But always have something ready in case you need to change up the pace. But only change the pace if they are bored. You know, I was in a game run by this guy Jason, stank ass game. And he was a terrible GM. But one of the other players was good, and I'm good. So we were good. You know, I came in with my character. I believe it was Buck Gunderson, or Brody Gunderson. Brody Gunderson, named after Buck Gunderson. But Brody was a Ulfen Huskattle from the land of the Linnon Kings. He had come down to Taldor to protect the king. And I was having great dialogue with Mike, although I can't remember his character's name, but it was an interesting character. He was kind of a sergeant, a cavalier, musketeer type character. So we're having this great back and forth. You know, he's a sophisticated knight. I'm a backwoods savage. You know, it's the odd couple, comedy, role-playing. It was great. And while we're right in the middle of role-playing, we're having a great time, GM interjects with this stank-ass cardboard two-dimensional NPC. Just comes in and it's like, oh, you need to help us. The princess has been kidnapped. We need help. You must come with me and hear my shitty plot hook. And I looked at the GM and I was like, I'm thinking to myself, why the fuck did you interrupt us for any reason? We're having fun role-playing. From a metagame perspective, if the players are having fun, leave them alone. Let them have fun. Take a break. Chill out. If they're not having fun, you can throw your stank-ass quest at them and hopefully get some fun out of that. But we were fine. We needed nothing from the GM. It would have been nice to have, we tried to talk to his fucking barkeep NPC, and he's a piece of shit. Two-dimensional, Oh, where are you from? I don't know. Okay. What gods do you worship? I do not know that either. I'm just that block. And I'm like, fuck you. So we quickly stopped talking to all of his NPCs. And the same thing with the other PCs, where are you from? I don't know. And I was like, man, none of you guys know where you're from. You don't know who your parents are. You don't know where you were trained. Or you don't know what god you worship. You're just stat blocks. I can get no conversation value out of stat block. So me and Mike quickly stopped talking to everybody else, the PCs, NPCs. They were all terrible. But we were having fun talking to each other in character. I was telling him about my plot hooks that I'd sent to the GM. In character, I was like, yes, dude, yes, I am seeking the Assassin's Guild. They have framed me. They've slandered my honor, and I must crush their heads. And Mike was he's talking, I don't know anything about these assassins. Like, tell me more about them. I was like, well, how did they cross you? And I'm going on about my storyline. And then this stank-ass cardboard NPC comes in, destroys our pacing. And, so we, and she wouldn't leave. I told her in character, like, fuck off. I don't give a shit about your princess. I have my own quests that I'm trying to pursue. Which I had sent to the GM, but he didn't care. He was never going to use my storyline. And that's, in one degree that's fine, but he could have told me it was not going to be useful for him. Because I could have given him more to work with. But instead he plugged me into his module, it was terrible. I was completely interchangeable. But that's another problem. As far as pacing goes, don't interrupt them if they're having fun. Do inject if they're not having fun. And the only other thing with pacing, keep your eye on the clock and try to end on a high note. Give them a good beginning and a great ending, and they'll forgive a lot in between. So start off with a bang, move forward to the rising action, make sure they're never bored, then keep an eye on the clock. And if you hit a really great scene and you're like, that would be a great place to leave off, and you look at your watch and you say, oh, we're done in a half hour anyway. Can I find a better place to end in the next half hour? Probably not. We're ending early, guys. Great session. Let's have a beer to celebrate before we go home. Or maybe the other thing where you're like looking at the clock and you're like, oh shoot, we're going home in an hour. I gotta plug in an ending for this session, because every session needs a beginning, middle, and end. And stacked up next to each other, side by side, they should form a beginning, middle, and end for your whole campaign. You got to pace the campaign as well. But usually, if you just pace each session appropriately, the rest takes care of itself. Just make sure you know when to move into the end game and end it, so you don't trail off and fizzle and fumble, so people get closure. But that's pretty much. I think that's pretty much my advice. Just give them a good beginning, keep them excited the whole time, and make sure there is an ending. Make sure it's a good ending. Cliffhanger endings are wonderful, or just a natural place where they're kind of resting on down low, so that next session you can pop that and hit them with something. So I think that's it. It's easy topic. I know I ramble a little bit, but I hope the video is still useful to you. I'm going to sign off now, and y'all have yourselves some great days out there in YouTube land.